I see that.
Well, hello everyone. How are you tonight? Welcome to our 7 o'clock call. This one is an exciting one. Tonight we have Finding Your Plan B with Nicole Murray. And a little bit about Nicole. I met Nicole here in Houston, and we've spent a lot of separate times just really talking and getting to know each other. And one thing she always did, she always came to the table with all these creative business ideas. I would talk to her about something I was thinking about, and she would say, oh girl, you need to do this. And then I'd talk to her about something my son was doing. She'd say, oh Cindy, you know, he needs to start a business doing this. Nobody's doing this. And she always, first off, she's a very positive and upbeat and encouraging person. And then she brings all these creative ideas to the table, and she has put those things in motion in her own life. She has her own, several of her own business ventures happening. And let me just tell you, she's incredible. And I did a bunch of digging around on the internet, like, who is this woman? And the further I dug, the more impressed I was with her. And so when I texted her or messaged her and said, Nicole, would you like to be a guest? I was more than thrilled when she said yes. So a little bit about her. Her name on her personal Facebook page says Nicole Murray, believer, mommy, and entrepreneur. And in that order, that is who she is. She's amazing. So she's an entrepreneur. She's also a business mentor. She's named one of Houston's top women in business game changers in 2018, and she is the Texas Women's University Women's University micro grant recipient from 2018 as well. So I would really like to welcome, with a heart full of thankfulness, Nicole Murray.
Well, thank you. I'm equally as impressed with you, Cindy. I mean, I think that was one of the things that, especially the setting when we, in which we met, typically there's not a whole lot of connection that happens there, but I think the connection was really strong. And it was, I think, because of us just being like-minded. You have, certainly what I've learned about you has been that you've known what it means to start over, know what it means to pick yourself up, know what it means to do something different, try another route. And so all I can do is echo what you said about me. You are exactly the same, if not more so.
Oh, thank you. Oh, so anyways, so we were talking about, plan B. Right now in this current environment, women are finding themselves at home. Some people, well, and I say women because that's the audience we're speaking to, because it's not just limited to women, but some of us are finding ourselves at home, and some people have lost their jobs and never had a plan. This pandemic, this shutdown came at us from out of the blue. And so now a lot of us are sitting back thinking, okay, I know this isn't going to last forever, but what if something else happens down the road? What's my plan B? What am I equipped for? What am I, I've never thought of a plan B. Now, I'm talking about other women because I'm always thinking of plan B, C, D, and E, But so what are your thoughts on this? And what have you heard from your peers and the people you've spoken with?
Oh, Lord. So niece is one of them. I mean, you're right. This is one of those things that has come out of the blue. But in truth, it's just a larger expression of what's happening to us all the time. we are always, life is literally always bringing us some sort of interruption. And I think as women, we have so many things that we're juggling, so many hats that we wear. We get into this mode of just adapting and adapting and adapting and adapting. And sometimes not always in a way that's progressive. Sometimes we just adapt to other people's either toxicity or other people's issues or just life being too hard, and we kind of like pull ourselves back. Again, using Nisa, one of the things that we talk about all the time is how every time we hit a wall, every time we have any sort of interruption in our lives, some things can literally just take our breath away and leave us in a puddle. But those are actually the times when we are most prime for making a decision that can catapult us to a next level. But in truth, many times the things that have you in a puddle are so gutting and so gut-wrenching that like it's the last thing that you think of, like what's next, right? You have to actually make a conscious decision to get up and actually keep pushing forward to something else. And I think this circumstance that we're in right now is one of those moments in life. It's a collective moment. Like when you think about it, there are millions of women, people in general, all facing that same sort of thing, right? All in unison. And I could go into this whole thing about the collective conscience and creating a tipping point on the earth. But in truth, if there are going to be people who have always hit walls and just fallen a little lower. And there's going to be those who choose to get a little higher after they hit the wall. I mean, we all hit them and we all fall, right? But there are those who just simply choose to keep pressing higher. So all of those people are kind of facing the same thing all at one time. And if we were all willing in this moment to push higher, we literally will raise the consciousness on this earth higher. Like the way people think and the way we view hardship and the way we view disruption can literally be changed in this moment. And that's actually what I'm praying for. I'm hoping that people will do that. I'm hoping that those who have an idea that they've been sitting on and didn't feel that they have time, or they didn't have the resources, or they couldn't sacrifice their job for it, whatever was the reason why somebody didn't maybe go after the thing that they wanted, that this will be that moment that they see as, laying down the gauntlet and saying, okay, I'm just going to try. What do I have to lose? And then, for those who have maybe adapted in a negative way, maybe this could be a time when we can all just sort of kind of feel like we're all on the same playing field and we all have the same, and begin to see that we always have been. But maybe people will begin to shift the way they look at their own circumstances. If someone that you thought was farther ahead of you is now right next to you, maybe that's enough to just start dreaming again and start believing that you can do something different. And so when looking at this time, that's what I'm seeing, that there's a massive opportunity to shift all across the entire world. Like, when has the world faced the same issue all at one time, at least in our lifetimes?
Mm-hmm.
We're all facing it. And so, some people will continue to respond to this the way they've responded to every other thing in their lives. And some will decide to try to do something different. And I hope that will be the case. So I don't know, I hope that answered that question. That's what
it did. And, I'm one of those people that I was in a funk when all of this started going down. I was really taken for a ride emotionally right in the beginning, because I'm going to have, now my kids are home 24/7. My husband and I and the kids, I'm not working. So I went 20 years not working in a traditional position anywhere. And then for the past year, I have been working in that. And now here I am back in the home again. And it's just a huge, if you want to say it, a huge paradigm shift for me, because I'm looking at what's going on out there, and I'm saying, you know what? The world, and I think I've said this on these calls at least once this week, but I don't think that the world is going to be the same when this is all over. Now, whether it's better or worse is up to the people of the world. And when I see this, I'm like, okay, things that I knew before, I can just sense that there's going to be things changing that we never thought were going to change. And it's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just changed. And so then that's when I say, oh my goodness, there's so much opportunity now for anyone who sees a vision or a dream or a plan of what they want to do with their life.
Right.
I feel like everyone has like this second chance to do over, you know, and we're going to do it in a different environment, I think. And I think it's a good thing. And that excited me. And somewhere along the line, you know, I went from that kind of a depressed, not really depressed, but a down kind of like, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit here on the computer all day. That's boring. I don't like that. I always have to be productive. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, wait a minute. I see what's going on. It was almost like I just woke up, you know, and I hope that that's what people that are watching this, I hope they're feeling that same way. It's like, okay, I know there's something good that I can make out of this situation. What is it? And then hopefully they can find their plan B. Hopefully you can help them find their plan B a little bit.
I can talk about what I do and how I bounce back. But I talked about hitting walls first because I know what that is. I know intimately what that is. You know, like, I don't know if I always talk about God first. I was going to say the Lord. I don't know if God helps some of us practice hitting walls just so we can talk to other people about what it's like to get back up again. But I think I have a unique clarity around wanting to get something done, having a vision, and then being interrupted by something that just simply makes zero sense.com. Like, no sense at all. Here I am faced with this thing. And before I had kids, and it took me a long time to have kids, but before I did have kids, what was my driver was, well, I had several drivers. I had external things. The younger I was, it was more about performance, like meeting a goal, making sure my parents thought a certain way or my peers thought a certain way. And that, you know, I wanted to be better at everything than anybody, right? So that was a driver, but that wasn't a good driver. And, you know, and still kind of leading into that point in my life where I was going, you know, wanting children and just wanting something more, a richer life. The driver became something that's inside of me. I actually had a mentor who he talked all the time about learning how to light the torch within. And that was such it was a lovely thing to say, but I didn't quite get it until I got it. We really have to have something within us that can't be doused by anything, because life is constantly changing. But that thing inside of us that keeps us moving forward. And I think one of the things that's important now is to begin to really nurture that flame, because all the outside things are really gone. You know what I mean? Like, so we have our children, we have home, you know, things that are kind of like your standard issue parts of being a woman and you know, just life, things that you have to manage. But in order to really move forward into this new normal, and dominate in the things that you want to dominate in, the motivator really needs to be internal. I think one of the things that it's shown us is that everything that's created is not anything that we can trust in, right? Like, we can't trust in jobs. We can't trust in even banks being open every day. We can't trust in grocery stores being open. Like, we have to, when you say shift our paradigm, it is really important to shift our paradigm in that way. And then to relate it, you know, to becoming really purposeful and like having lives that are meaningful outside of those external things, right? So that's what I mean when I talk about just becoming those who can fan that flame that's in us and grow it and have something in us that's constantly being our driver and not anything else. Because right now we have lives that consist of, we can go to the grocery store and we can go to the pharmacy. And what's the other thing we can do? Oh, we can buy gas. That's it. Oh, and we can go to Home Depot. So, like, there's nothing external that we're beholden to. We need to become beholding to ourselves. And I think in that, a part of that is becoming again, this is not to push my faith on anyone, but to really find also a spiritual center and let, I vote for God, but everybody can do their own thing. But let something that's bigger than us create within us a sense of purpose and really begin moving from a place of purpose and not all these external drivers. We cannot, there's nothing like who people, I'm self-employed, and even the things that are, I guess, created by the government to help self-employed people, they're not even working for me. Like they're just not coming through. That's okay though, because what this situation is showing me that it makes no difference. I have to be the one that is constantly focused on my next day, my next open door, my next opportunity, and my spiritual health. And nothing that has existed before now, and nothing that will come that comes from some effort that's not my own, is ever going to change that. And none of those things are ever going to be more important than that. So taking care of ourselves, becoming more grounded spiritually in some way, and really just looking, I think this is a good time to take stock at how unstable our very stable world really is. Like it didn't take anything. It took an invisible germ and everything shut down.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to wrap your head around that really when you stop. It's mind-boggling to me. It's like in little to no time, everything that was familiar was different.
Yes.
You know, so I wrote down a little note here. Do you have any advice? So first off, you do mentor and help women with business conception, business development, the whole thing, right?
Start to finish, absolutely.
Okay, so do you have advice for figuring out what that internal flame is, what that passion is? How do you help your clients do that?
Okay, so the external drivers are gone. And the biggest excuse that we have for ourselves is, oh my God, I have to be at work at this time. I have to have dinner on table at this time. I have to have everybody loaded in the car for all these different lessons and all these different things. We have to have tutorials at this time. Like all of that is gone. It is really an opportunity to sit quietly with ourselves and figure those things out. To go back to the center. There's a song called Back to the Middle, to really get back to our middle and just really think, what is your place of balance? If you've got a seesaw that's like this, what is the place where you're not leaning too far this way or too far the other way, but just sitting in the center of your own purpose? You won't find that if you're always constantly living in a flurry of things that are going on. And so this is that moment. But I think what a lot of people are finding is, and I know this to be true, is that now that it's quiet, it's like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to sit still. But just like you would discipline, teach a child, like we're having to teach our kids how to do school online, right?
Right.
Normal. We have to teach ourselves those new things. So we have to learn. Again, going back to that spiritual balance, because I have a prayer life, you know, just by virtue of needing to be in prayer all the time, I've learned how to sit in that place of searching and digging. And I recommend that above all things, that people, whether you believe or not, there is a high value to having a spiritual relationship where you and God sit quietly and just talk. You know, talking about adjusting, I started using these little press-on nails and one of them just popped off. But anyway, but you know, like we have friendships, we have girlfriends, you know, we have relationships with a significant other. We have, you know, those people in life that we can confide in. But at the end of the day, there is a relationship with God that really isn't, it's not matched by any relationship that we have with the people that we love, even though we love them deeply and dearly. And so there's a measure of peace that people can gain just by taking time to sit quietly in meditation and prayer is my recommendation. But, you know, you don't have to. If that's not your thing, it's not your thing. But that's a place of just reviewing. It's a safe place of reviewing. You know, so when I say in these close relationships, sometimes you have people that you can tell everything, but then there's still that one or two things that you keep close to your vest, right? Because either there's shame there or there's secret, you know, whatever it is, you just don't feel that it's a thing you can talk about. Well, in your spiritual relationship, there is that place where you can say anything. Nobody's gonna say nothing to you. You just, you know what I mean? You can pour those things out. But the more we pour all the stuff out, all the things, the external drivers and the things we've been through, the more we pour those things out, we make room for that creativity to be poured in and for us to reignite old ideas that we've laid down. Thoughts, the thought that we're thinking when we are driving a million errands and you have a flash thought of like, man, I don't know why I haven't started working on that makeup line or that whatever, you know, and then you just don't think about it again because you get home and you're baking chicken nuggets and you're running a bath and you're, you know, so this is one of those times to sit quietly, pour out all the junk and let some of the good just start flowing in. We don't even, I mean, like, there's not much to get, there's not even people knocking on our doors. There's nothing to interrupt us, very little. I mean, okay, in fairness, I have 4 children. So I understand that being at home with them all day long is a whole nother vibe and a whole nother place of stress and discomfort. But at the same time, we should not rob ourselves of this opportunity to learn to sit quietly with ourselves and figure out what it is that we want. Because as we do, we actually become more valuable to the people around us. We actually become those who have more to offer to them. So that would be if I were taking a first step, well, okay, so on my little thing, I have my first step is get up, right? But then the other thing that I say is put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And what that really means is that just sit in a place of getting rid of all the residual stuff, everything that's been holding you back, everything that has been in your way, all the doubts, all the questions, the things you don't ever have time for, the things that when you are finally done at the end of the day and you're laying on your pillow and your eyes are going back and forth and you're thinking about, now is the opportunity to be very intentional and take a look at those things and remove the things that are holding us back. Because you can't go forward. In this new space, the challenge before us is to be willing to let go of everything that's been holding us back so we can move forward lighter and easier, you know, and have an easier path. But so that would be my first 2 things: get up, dust yourself off, and start digging inside first.
Nice. Okay, so this is really, really hard for me, by the way, because I'm wanting to do a one-on-one session with you right now in front of the whole world, but we can't do that because this has to be about the viewers. So I'm having a tough time taking myself out of this conversation and imagining what the viewers may be thinking. So let's create an avatar, a woman that is just fictitious. And so let's create, I have one. So I have a woman who is a hobbyist, okay? Her hobby is sewing. Her hobby is sewing. I'm just making this up. And she doesn't she's not a traditional business person, but she wants to do something to create that plan B.
Yeah.
And she's found deep in her heart, I don't know, she loves popsicles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, this is a kind of conversation you and I would have. She loves popsicles and she has all these things about popsicles, but she sews.
Yeah.
But she wants to make a business and that's all she knows is popsicles and sewing.
Okay.
I'm being difficult, aren't I? Okay. So how does she take that and find a market that might work for her?
Okay. So life is always presenting us with a market. Okay, there is
Okay.
always a market. There is always a market. One of the things that I say is use your talents, find a need, and fill it, and then bleed the block. So what that means is, first, so we know what her gifts are. She's a person who is a seamstress, and she likes popsicles. Okay, so a huge thing that a seamstress could do right now in this moment is make face masks. So if we were talking about this moment right now,
Right.
there's a huge, if all she did was her subdivision, if that's all she did, if all she did was make masks for her subdivision, or if all she did was make masks for the local fire department, all she'd have to do is that to get started. And before you know it, things would begin to take off. But when this situation changes, she's now created a conversation in her area. You can have a business that is viable and strong within a 5-mile radius of your home. And that's what I don't, or within your home, without ever having to leave it. We want people to get some vitamin D though, so definitely go outside. But like, that's a situation that I found myself in one of my wall hitting scenarios. But right after I had my youngest daughter, I'd gone into corporate America for a short period, 4-year period. And right after I had her, I got laid off. She was little, like little. She was 5 months old. And there was no scenario where I was going to like start juggling some job that maybe didn't pay what I needed to earn to provide, or something that was going to make me compromise my relationship with my children and in my time with them. And honestly, in the job that I was in, I had to travel a lot globally, so it ultimately was a good thing. But the thing is, I had to pivot, and I had to come up with something that wouldn't take me from her and wouldn't have me, it just wouldn't change my situation too dramatically. So in this situation with this lady who needs to sew, and she's living inside of a pandemic, why not do what the moment calls for? In my moment, I just started, let me be very clear, I'm not a chef, but I had an idea that I would make pastries and sell them to local coffee shops who didn't have the same access to ordering like Starbucks. But I made all these copycat recipes so that they would have the exact same offerings as Starbucks. And then I took my baby and we went around and did samples together, and we picked up several accounts pretty quickly. The point is, I wasn't even outside of 5 miles of my home. I was not. There are so many independent places that I was able to pick from. And because they're independent, they didn't mind that I had my baby with me. So when we talk about being in business, sometimes we may poo-poo certain things because maybe it doesn't look as highbrow as we want. We may have in our mind, I know I always have, like I want to be in a boardroom with a suit, with my stuff, and I've had that opportunity. But life presented me with something that just simply didn't match anything at all. And I needed to have a solution that didn't match anything at all. So in the case of this woman who might have been an executive before, like I was, but now she's just at home in a pandemic with a sewing machine and some scraps. Well, there are so many people who need what she has to offer. And so while our first reaction would be, man, I was an executive with all these great things going on. Now I'm a stay-at-home mom. Wow, what do I do with that? Now she can serve the community. Now she can fulfill the thing that she can use, the thing that gives her joy, actually do something that has purpose, so finding a need and filling it, and give it to the community around her, so that when things change, she's got this reputation. So whatever she decides to do with popsicles, she can easily deliver the idea to this existing customer base. Because during a time when there was a great need, she was one of the ones who was able to fill it. So that's my take on that.
I love that. I do. I was thinking, and this is what you and I usually do when we talk about stuff. I was thinking, we bounce off of each other. I was thinking, okay, she's doing, and I wasn't even thinking masks, and which was silly because I should have known you were going to say masks, but that's okay because that's what when two people brainstorm, that's what happens. But I was thinking, okay, she yeah, when it said masks, I thought, okay, yeah, she's making masks. Why doesn't she make masks for children that have popsicle, that have the popsicles patterns on her masks? So I took where you were going, and I brought the popsicles in. And so, but I like what you did, where you say that, okay, she's got a customer base pre-built in, basically, for whatever she decides to do with the popsicles. They may not all want her new popsicle, whatever it is, but a portion of them will. And I think that's great.
Well, and so I'm a strong believer in creating additional revenue streams within the same business. And so again, we have all these mores around, well, it has to be like this, or if you sell this thing, then you only need something that complements that thing. I don't agree with that. I think that that's we have too many constructs that hold people within a fence, and then so we tame ourselves in a way that restrains creativity. So that she doesn't have to even wait till, she doesn't have to create some popsicle, but what she could do as a mask maker is, as summer gets close and she's, her creative juices are flowing, she could even create something that goes over the hand while you're holding a popsicle, and then it prevents dripping and, whatever. I don't know, but there's always a space to take what your original idea was and help it evolve. That is literally what larger companies do. But we never view our smaller businesses in that way. We always think, oh gosh, and the social conversation these days is all about the big guy, the elites, to me, it's like the most ridiculous conversation. The truth is, we all have within us the capacity to develop things and to expand on what we've developed. There's nobody lacking that. And not having the resources isn't even an excuse. That business that I started with the pastries, I literally started with an 88-cent box of cake mix. Like, I started Delish. Delish grew out of that. So that particular business, I started with 88 cents. 88 cents. Nobody can tell me ever that we are not on the playing field. May look different. Some of the political opportunities that exist, like I was saying about earlier, about getting the resources for my business that maybe a larger business could get to quickly. Maybe there are some disparities there, but we can't be bound by those things. We have to be always willing to think outside the box and try the thing. Uh-oh, you okay?
Sorry.
No, okay, and just try something else. So I love what you said about the popsicles on the masks. Hopefully this lady would be excited by the way people would respond, and she would hopefully continue that same business, not letting go of it, but just evolving. There's so much. Goodness, we have a lot before us right now.
Go ahead. And this is what I love about you. So you came up with the one idea, then I added my little thing, and then you came back and you still had another popsicle idea with putting it. I mean, so your brain is just phenomenal. How it's just so creative. And I love that. Now, what's really funny is down here for my next question, it was, and you didn't know this was on here. It was, do we have to have a lot of money to get started? 88 cents?
That business, literally 88 cents. Now, so remember what I was saying about continuing to develop, keeping with the same business, but being comfortable with developing other revenue streams that aren't necessarily a perfect match to what you were doing, but maybe are in the ball field. You can still grow the business. So as Delish grew, I was able to attract funding. I was able to attract opportunities. I've never had to give away pieces of my company to get it. That grant that I received, that was 2 years into the business, but I was ready to start another thing. And it didn't look anything like the first thing that I was doing, but it's in the ball field. And so because of consistency, Lord knows, it wasn't, if I'm honest, it's not like that business was my passion. My passion was my children. And my passion was, I need to be with them. And so I did the thing that was in my hands because I think there's nothing wrong with that. And because I stuck with it, I did attract funding, opportunities, open doors. That business really grew. And Nisa, she's one of those people, I get mad at the business sometimes because I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. But you can't just throw something away that you've nurtured like a child. So yeah, I think that it's okay to have, what is the saying? Don't despise humble beginnings. Because your thought, your idea is actually greatness. It doesn't matter like what little or much you had to actually get it off the ground. The greatness is the idea. And then that greatness is proved out when you continue walking it out. The rest of it, who cares? Like literally, who cares? But that's a thing that's very hard to get people to believe until they actually like put their hands to something and then see it happen. And so then that's the point where you have to be brave enough to just leap and do something. But yeah.
Well, how do people identify needs?
Okay.
Is there a way that you can identify, I mean, like a strategic, so just think if you have someone who's not as creatively minded as you, and they're just more of a logical kind of person, how do they find a need that they can fill?
So I love that question. The best way that I can illustrate that is through a little story. So when I was in the oil and gas industry, I had this project where I was looking for Black History Month. I was looking for inventions that were done by African-American individuals. And as I was doing that search, I found some of the most interesting things, the simplest things that had become what we consider commonplace, like a door stopper, an ironing board, like little conveniences that we don't even consider. Like we pay very little for those items. We have them, we use them every day. But at one point, once upon a time, the person who invented it because without that thing, there was hardship. So if you're going in and out of a door all the time and the door won't stay open and you have some heavy burden that you're carrying and all you need is that door to stay open so you can do your in and out, and the little thing that you create is a door stopper, you've just changed everyone's life with that door stopper. So I think the best place to start is the first place, I would say, for me, the first place to start would be places where you have found discomfort and where you've said to yourself, man, if I had something that would da-da-da-da-da, then that would make things so much easier. The space where the da-da-da-da-da is your idea. Like, there it is. Again, it may not be a thing that you're passionate about, but there's something to be considered as well. Like if there's something you're passionate about, but you can't fund, maybe this other thing that you do that fills a need creates the funding for the thing you're passionate about. So again, you know, that Machiavellian attitude of the end justifies the means isn't always a negative attitude. It's just about getting to outcome. What is your path to get to the thing that you want? So that would be the first thing, is looking at things that make your own life easier. And then there's also things that people say the world will present you with, things like the pandemic. Do you know? Like it literally has presented us with untold needs that will need to be filled. They were talking about the new guidelines for slowly opening our country back up. Goodness gracious. We don't even have anything that looks remotely like what we had before. Not because anyone wants to take our liberties away, but because if we want to live and if we want to not be some asymptomatic carrier of death to our vulnerable family members, we have to function differently. And so sitting back and looking at this new world that we have is a great way to figure it out. I use this example. When during the Great Depression, again, another leveling of the playing field. But I told a friend of mine, I don't remember if it was Nisa, but I probably said it to several people. The wealthiest families that we see today were the ones who innovated during that time. So think about it. They developed things that were probably just commonplace or simple things at the time, but they continue to grow. They continue to carry that vision through their family. And now they're the wealthiest names that, they're names that are considered bedrocks in our society. But they innovated during times of hardship and difficulty. So we are all presented with that opportunity right now to innovate in the most rustic and simplest ways. Like, really, it doesn't have to be, and believe this is me even saying like, this is just so mature of me. Let me be very clear, because I was once upon a time, a person was like, I want the most fabulous thing. I want to see every country. You've seen many countries. I've seen many countries. I've had those opportunities, but at the end of the day, the staying power is in something that you can actually do, sustain, and grow. Like that should be the focus. Find the need, fill it, use your talents, find the need, fill it, and bleed the block.
Love it. I need to get that quote, like, something really pretty, and put it on my wall, because that is priceless. Priceless. Okay, so let's see. How do we stay motivated?
Well, that goes back to the fire within. So the external motivators change, right? As a mom, our kids grow up. So we can't always be motivated by Nisa. Again, Nisa, I talk to her all the time, if you can't tell.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
For the viewers aren't aware that Nisa is also on the line with us. She's a silent participant in this conversation. So just so that the viewers know about it.
So, well, now I forgot what I was going to say. Say the question.
The question was, how do we stay motivated?
The fire within. Okay, so she was talking about how I've got 4 children. And so even if I want to lay down and give up in life, they're still staring at me like, we still want stuff. And one of them is only 4 years old. So I have that, but one day they're going to grow up. And I know that some of the ladies who are going to see this are already in that place where the kids, well, everybody's back home now because, again, of the pandemic. But, there's a place where the kids are gone. There's a place where all external drivers are just not enough. And so we have to have our own fire burning. Oh, look, I lost another one of those. The same one. But, we have to have that fire burning that has nothing to do with what's going on outside of us. Okay, now you got me one to check line. But, because things do change. Like I said about me younger, I used to be very driven by what was listed on my resume. And I wanted it that way. Really, it was for my parents. Like I wanted them, I didn't take a traditional route. I didn't go to college right away. I didn't do anything the traditional way. And of course, that's not what they wanted at all. But I did chart my own path, and I have had a lot of success. But I was so focused on making sure that I could prove, see, I can make 6 figures. I can get these great jobs. I can still do it. And that wasn't the right driver. With my mom and dad, honey, I'm 48 years old. There's going to be a bar. If I can hit one, they're going to hit it, they're going to raise it, and I'm going to need to hit that. And that's okay, because that's what parents, that's what they do. But that's an external motivator that actually would be exhausting if my whole life was pinned on that. Children that could be a disappointing external motivator because they leave. They literally leave. If we do it right, they leave, and we want them to be healthy and strong and able and capable in the world. But when they're all gone, if you have a spouse and that person has their own thing they're doing, or they're ready to, they've worked hard and they're ready to settle down and be quiet, that's not an external motivator that's going to be like, yeah, go start a business, So if we're depending on the things that like there's a current that flows through our lives, and it's all that external stuff, and we just tend to go on that current. But if we're not nurturing the things that are within us to become the current that we ride in, when all that stuff falls away, we're looking around the scorched earth trying to figure out what's next. And I think a lot of women can attest to the fact that that's that's an emptiness that isn't one to be desired. We need to nurture what's within us. That's the only driver that will stand the test of time. It literally is the only thing. You being focused on what you want, not to the point of selfishness, although there's a measure of selfishness that's healthy. Self-care, which you spent the whole week talking about, and pouring into women and showing them why it's, even in these dark times, it's important to care for yourself. But that goes right into that internal fire. So, I mean, that, to me, if I had any answer, that would be it. We have to nurture what's within us, because we we won't make it with that if we're depending on the current to keep us moving.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I have, like, I mean, I could go on for hours, but here we are already 47 minutes into this conversation. Yeah. So, what else, do you have any like parting thoughts or things that you just want to instill? I mean, I don't want you to feel like you're saying the same things over and over, because I know that everything you've said is just a passionate giving of your heart. But anything that you would like someone to do tonight for themselves?
Yes. Again, I can't make anybody do this. But what you said about our lives not being the same is the realest thing you could have said today, because it's just not. The world that we knew is no longer. And one of the worst things that we can do is hold on to what doesn't exist anymore. We're all guilty of that in relationships, past relationships, and old careers. We all have those moments where it's hard to just release what's gone. But when we fail to do that, we simply don't have the ability to embrace what's coming and to prepare and be on the cutting edge. And again, we don't have to be some big innovator. So when I say cutting edge, I don't mean that you have to go out and start a business. But what you do want to do is meet this new moment without your hands full of a bunch of like ashes, like things have changed. And so it's much better to look at what was, let it be what it was, and let's start to look at this new world with fresh eyes and do something different. Never caught off guard. Say again?
And make it a better
Yes.
world.
Better. Make it better. That's key.
Lisa says, allow yourself to release what's lost.
That's right. Do you know that is the hardest thing? Oh my goodness. If you need to tell me if I'm out of time, because I don't want to go into this, but this is a key thing that I have learned. So do you want me to chill or?
No, you're good. I just want to respect your time.
No, I'm okay. I mean, and the people joining us, I don't want to, but I'm so glad she said that, because when I talk about releasing, I'm talking about releasing at levels that we just don't even think we're capable of releasing, not just life. So part of my journey has been just that, learning how to let go of things that you would think you shouldn't have to let go. Even being next to my son's bed while he's sick unto death almost, and having to say to God, you know what? I don't know if you're going to save him, but I'm giving him back to you right now. We have to become people who hold on to nothing. That makes me emotional, but it's really true. We have to be those who hold on to nothing, because we're stronger for it. It seems like we're taught like this bootstrap mentality, where we're always picking ourselves up by our bootstraps, and no matter what pain we're carrying on our backs, that we have to somehow dig deeper, still carrying all that pain, still carrying whatever, and find something new. And then I don't think that's what life really requires of us. What we have to be is light as a feather, and be willing to let anything go, no matter how dear it is, no matter how much it matters, no matter how crazy it even looks. But that, and I could, if anybody wanted to sit with me for a longer period of time, I could explain that better, but I would just simply say this. And again, my reference is God. When God takes you to a place where throughout your life, you're always letting go, and you think, man, okay, can't get any harder than that. And then you go along through life, and there's something else that you're confronted with that you have to let go again. You think, okay, this had to be my defining moment. But no, that's not really true, because every place where we have to make decisions like that are literally really massive crossroads in our lives where we're finding out if we have what it takes to get more out of life. And that's like a simple phrase, but it's a really heavy one. Do we have what it takes to get more out of life? Do we trust God? Do we trust ourselves? Do we trust that tomorrow really does bring new things? So when you get to the point where, in my case, I've buried a child, I've had to walk away from a relationship that mattered more than anything. I've had to walk away from career things that I've accomplished, things that I desired, that I worked my whole buns off for. Still, life took me through different places where I had to simply let go. And for every place where I didn't think I could, like some things literally feel like you're peeling your flesh off, letting go, right? But every place where you didn't think you could, there is a whole new life for you on the other side of letting go. And often the thing you had to let go of is still yours on the other side. But it's about not being bound to anything and being agile and open. So if there's anything, it's to take what we have right now, let go of everything that was behind us in that old space. And like, don't desire, if you were unhappy at some office where everything was tan and taupe and the carpet was dingy and you were unhappy then, you have a right to still be unhappy when this is all over with. Maybe it's not a thing to be desired to rush back to that. Go to your job for sure. If you get it back, go to it. But at the same time, go now with the thought that you know, I don't really have any trust that I can put in this. It can be taken from me in a moment. Mm-hmm. So love yourself enough to put those things where they belong. You know, it provides a paycheck. Great. What is my passion? What am I here to do with my life? What am I here to effect change in through my life? We're not put here to sit in the tan office space with the dingy carpet and always feel like, if only. That's what we're not here to do. So as we go back piece by piece to our lives, let's definitely put things in their right position and let go of anything that's holding us back. And if they want to talk about that in detail, we can do that, like sidebar, but yeah.
Perfect. What a perfect way to end this. Yeah. Okay. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you and talk to you, how would they go about doing it?
You can definitely call me. I know people don't ever say that, but you can call me. So my phone number is available. And do you want me to give it, or do you want me to say that?
Yeah, sure. If you like, remember this will be out there forever.
I don't care who calls me, because if I don't want to talk to them, I'll just be like, you're strange. No. But they could call me, they can email me, they can reach out to me via Facebook with a message. But my phone number is 832-506-7347. That's my business number. So again, you know, they can call me, they can text me. I'm always available. We don't have to be in a mentoring relationship for me. You know that. I mean, we just, that wasn't how we began having these talks. So it's my desire to be available to people. It's my desire to encourage people. So certainly feel free to call, text. I can send you the email for someone to reach out to me, and you can post that with
okay.
things. Yeah, but it's Nicole at mogulfactory.com.
Mogul, M-O-G-U-L.
Factory.com.
What were those four steps that I said I had to get put on? I got to write it down. Had to get put on a plaque.
Oh, okay. Find your talents or your gifts.
Yeah.
Identify a need. Fill it. Fill it. And bleed the block. And I can teach a person how to bleed the block. It sounds crazy, but
and that's bleed the block as in the street block, the block of your neighborhood, the block of your city.
Whatever block that you have identified as the place that is most rich with opportunity for you, there's a way to bleed that thing. and you shouldn't go to bed a single day. Once you've identified your thing, you should not go to bed one day after that without spending some time on developing it and developing your strategy to bleed that block. Honestly, like, that 88-cent box of cake mix became a multiple six-figure company within a 5-mile radius of my house. Now it became, it's way outside that radius now, but it wasn't my passion. That's the key. Like, we get Oprah, like she told us all these things about if you're, and it's true, like doing the thing you love will bring income. But at the end of the day, find a need and fill it. That will certainly supply you with income that you need to do all the stuff you want to do.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everything. And I know that people are going to have to replay this several times to write down all the notes, because that was chock full of good stuff.
Well, thank you. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful that you would even consider me, to be honest. I love the idea. I hope you keep doing it. Again, you see, you adapted to the new normal, and you certainly found the need and filled it. And I really honor you for doing that. It's a great thing that you've done. So thank you for including me.
Absolutely, and thank you for accepting. So with that being said, I'll let you get off and be with your kiddos, and I am going to get back to my work and get prepared for tomorrow. So thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
You too. Take care. Bye, everybody.